What's going on, guys? Today we are back, and today we're working on my 1989 Toyota pickup. Brought to you in part by Alpine Toyota. Now, for the past few months, I've been running without a front locker in my truck. The locker is physically still there, but at some point my actuator quit working. And now that we are in snow wheeling season, it is super important that I get this thing going again. Luckily for me, my buddy Mike recently got this ELocker here for his front axle. And he isn't planning on using his actuator. He's actually going with the Chilcat cable conversion. So that means I'm going to rob this actuator and throw it in my truck. But before I do that, I better make sure that it even works so I know that I'm not wasting my time. And now that I got the actuator actually removed from the third, I'm going to go to my truck, pull the harness out a little bit, and just attach my ELocker harness, hit the switch, and see if this thing even works. So I'm gonna tell you what led me to believe that it was my actuator being the problem in my truck for my front locker. So a while ago, when we were doing the ELocker in the front axle of my brother's 85, you know, the 3.4 swapped, the black one that's on the channel, we actually made the conversion harness, or we made the harness ourselves to a double pull switch to the actuator. And in the process of testing that harness, because his wasn't in his truck or the actuator wasn't ready or whatever, we tried to plug his harness into my actuator to see if it would work, and it didn't. So we thought that, okay, that's the problem, because my actuator quit working slightly before that, and I originally thought it must have been something in the wiring harness or in the plug, but no. To me, that confirmed it must be my actuator that's dead. But now I find a clear broken wire on this plug, and now I'm second guessing myself. Maybe the wires weren't tight on the battery terminal or something. So what I'm gonna try first is to actually repair this, and then test it with my own harness. It's already in the truck before I bother doing all the work swapping the actuator. Hopefully this makes sense. So here's the deal. Almost every single wire on this plug broke with very minimal effort. Like, a baby could have pulled them off. It was kind of stupid. So what I did is I took another plug and I rewired each wire coming into it, and this is a lot stronger. They're all soldered, they're heat shrunk together and weather tight. So now I'm gonna grab that actuator from Mike, plug it into this, and test the harness again, and then I guess test the actuators in my truck. I have a feeling that one is dead. As I said, we did test a harness that we knew worked, but I'm gonna try it anyways. And now that I proved this actuator works, it's time to clean it up, give it a fresh coat of paint, and actually looking at this thing, it is in way better shape than the one that is in the truck currently. The top hat here is all corroded on mine, like these nuts are completely corroded away, and like in general, this one should clean up and paint up real nice, and hopefully this one will be the ticket to lasting for a while. Okay, check it out. The Pour 15 that I laid on the actuator has had a ton of time to dry, and now it looks like a brand new actuator. And there we go. The old actuator is out. As you can see, it is clearly way crustier than the new one is. And I did confirm it. While it was out, I plugged it into my harness and hit the button with absolutely no load, and it did not move at all. So this was definitely the reason my locker wasn't working. And now we know this one works, so let's toss her in there. And with the new actuator installed, let's give her a test. That worked. Off, on. Alright, and now that the locker is working, we are on to the next order of business. That is some 1UZ maintenance. When I did the 1UZ swap, as I'm sure lots of you guys know, I went through a couple of motors. And I ended up using the intake manifold and fuel injectors, fuel rails, everything from the 95. The SC400. And what I've learned is that these purple fuel injectors that came with the LS400 are actually 220 cc per minute, whereas the flow rate on the LS400 injectors is actually 250 cc. I'm using the ECM from the LS400, so I'm going to take these injectors out that match that ECM. Now, I've read online that those injectors should work. You should be able to swap out either or, but to be honest, this engine still sputters every once in a while, and it feels like a fueling issue when it does happen. So yeah, I'm gonna try this and see how that goes. I also picked up a new set of spark plugs for it, and yeah, just general maintenance stuff. Alright, and now I'm on to the step of actually removing the greenish injectors from this thing. I'm going to try to do it while keeping the intake manifold in place, maybe? We'll see how that goes. Okay, so I laid out the LS400 injectors and the SC400 injectors side by side here so you can see the difference. First off, the LS400 injectors are definitely taller overall than the SC400. That being said, the mounting surface seems to be the same. It's just this guy goes down a bit further, which tells me, yeah, these guys should bolt in no problem. But first, they're all getting brand new injector seals. As you can see, I've already removed all the old injector seals off these guys. I did put brand new injector seals on these guys, but I'm no longer using these guys, and I'm not going to reuse those seals because these are cheap enough. And there you have it. Both fuel rails are fitted with the LS400 injectors with brand new injector seals, so they shouldn't leak. And now, as long as all of these injectors work, because I have no idea if they do, it should be pretty smooth sailing. It's time to go back to reassembly. So all of the fuel injectors are now reinstalled onto the fuel rails and put back into the engine bay, all plumbed. I then turned the key on, tested the fuel pump, make sure that there wasn't any leaks, and yeah, it's good to go. Now, before I get any further on reassembly, I'm going to pull all the spark plugs and replace all those while I'm here, and then, yeah, we're good to go. Alright, so the proper injectors are now installed, all the spark plugs are now replaced, and now it's time to start it up and see if there's any sort of misfire or anything. I've had the battery disconnected so that the ECM can kind of reset. Currently it's about -7 degrees Celsius or like 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is going to be a cold start too, so let's see how this goes. You know, she was a little bit rough right off the get-go there, but as I said, it is cold, and the ECM is now relearning the new fuel setup. It seems to have smoothed out and seems to be running great now. So, how about we go for a little drive? Alright, she's pretty well at the temperature. Don't pay attention to the tach, that actually reads high. It's about double what it should be. But, hey, seems to be running great so far. Oh man. She's smooth. As I said, the tach reads really high. I was not in the red there. I know you guys wanted to hear some more noise of this thing actually running and driving, so I figured I'd include a bit here. Just going around the block. Man, she's happy. There's the boss. And hey, that seemed to actually do the trick. It ran extremely smooth around the block there. I really haven't done much testing other than that, so I can't 100% confirm whether it's fixed or not. But anyways, at least it feels great to know that the ECM is talking to the correct injectors. And, you know, it's always nice to put in new plugs and stuff like that. And hopefully that just did the trick. And I won't be chasing any more running problems in the future. Anyways, guys, that about wraps up this week's episode of Dirt Garage, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you could do me a huge favor, smash that thumbs up button. That would be greatly appreciated. And hey, consider subscribing. I upload weekly Toyota building, wheeling, and off-roading content. Anyways, I'll see you next week. Peace.
I'ma make a couple stacks, do exactly what I want to. Mix a couple tracks, get a lady that I'm drawn to. Turn up to the max, get me faded till I'm gone, dude. I do what I want, couldn't stop me if you wanted to. I just work hard, yeah, harder than the rest. Some people say I'm lucky, others say